Starting route to Church Point Beach. Your first stop is Richmond.
Please comment, like, and subscribe.
At the next lights, turn left. At the lights, turn left onto East Market Street, then take the first right onto Windsor Street. Arrive at Richmond. At the lights, turn right onto Windsor Street.
Richmond in New South Wales has a long history that begins with the early decades of British colonisation along the Hawkesbury River in the 1790s. It became one of Governor Lachlan Macquarie's 5 Macquarie towns in 1810 and evolved from an important agricultural district into a residential town within metropolitan Sydney.
In 6 kilometres, turn left onto Macquarie Street.
Governor Arthur Phillip explored the Hawkesbury district in 1789 and named a prominent rise on the western side of the river, Richmond Hill, in honour of Charles Lennox, the 3rd Duke of Richmond. The name was later applied to the township that grew on and around this higher ground, chosen because it was less vulnerable to flooding than the low-lying river flats. From 1794, small groups of settlers were granted land on the fertile alluvial flats near what is now Richmond to grow grain for the struggling Sydney colony. By the late 1790s, the Hawkesbury district, including Richmond, was supplying a large share of the colony's wheat and other crops, though repeated floods caused major losses. On the 6th of December, 1810, Governor Lachlan Macquarie formally named 5 inland towns: Windsor, Richmond, Wilberforce, Pitt Town, and Castlereagh, to provide safer residential sites above the floodplain for farming families. Surveyor James Meehan laid out Richmond's streets, town allotments, Market Square, now Richmond Park, and Church Precinct in 1811, establishing the basic town plan that still underlies the modern centre. By the 1820s and 1830s, Richmond had churches, a burial ground, and small industries such as flour mills serving the surrounding farms. Population grew steadily. By 1848, there were about 746 residents and 147 houses in the township, with more on nearby farms. Flooding remained a constant threat to the broader Hawkesbury, but Richmond itself, on higher ground, developed as a service centre with a marketplace, stores, and public buildings. Public education expanded from the 1860s with the opening of a national school and later the Richmond School of Arts in 1866, reflecting the town's growing social and cultural life. Improved transport strengthened Richmond's role in the region. A privately funded bridge over the Hawkesbury at Richmond in 1860, later acquired by the colonial government, made crossing easier and more reliable. In 1864, a branch railway line reached Windsor and Richmond, connecting the town directly to Sydney and supporting both farm exports and commuter travel. Richmond was proclaimed a municipality in 1872, marking its recognition as an established local government centre. By the late 19th century, its population had more than doubled from mid-century levels, and the town had spread beyond its original allotments while retaining Macquarie's early layout. During the 20th century, Richmond increasingly became part of Greater Sydney's urban fringe, while still serving a rural hinterland in the Hawkesbury. Proximity to Sydney and strong transport links encouraged residential growth, and today Richmond functions as a suburban centre with a visible historic core, including its park, churches, and street plan dating back to the early 1800s. Windsor, in New South Wales, is one of the oldest British-founded towns in Australia, growing from a late 18th century farming settlement on the Hawkesbury River into a historic regional centre within metropolitan Sydney. Originally known as Green Hills, it was renamed Windsor in 1810 by Governor Lachlan Macquarie and formally laid out as one of his key inland towns. By 1794, Acting Governor Major Francis Grose had placed at least 22 ex-convict and free settlers along the Hawkesbury and South Creek, in the district then called Green Hills. These farms quickly became a major grain source for Sydney, so much so that the Hawkesbury region was described as the granary of the colony, despite frequent destructive floods.
In 1 kilometre, turn left onto Macquarie Street.
On the 6th of December, 1810, Macquarie ordered the creation of a formal township on higher ground above the flood-prone river flats and named it Windsor after the English royal town on the Thames. Streets, public buildings, a burial ground, barracks, and a government granary were laid out between 1810 and the early 1820s, with St Matthew's Anglican Church, opened 1822, becoming a prominent landmark.
Go past these lights, then at the next set, turn left. At the lights, turn left onto Macquarie Street. In about 1 kilometre, turn left onto Bridge Street.
Through the 1800s, Windsor developed as a small inland town with flour mills, tanneries, hotels, a court, jail and schools serving the wider Hawkesbury farming district. Key infrastructure included the railway station on the Blacktown-Richmond line, opened 1864, and Windsor Bridge over the Hawkesbury, completed 1874, now the oldest existing crossing of the river. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Windsor functioned as the principal town of the Hawkesbury, with municipal institutions and an economy tied to both agriculture and improved transport links to Sydney. Today, Windsor forms part of Greater Sydney, but retains a distinctive historic core, especially around Thompson Square and the riverfront, with a concentration of early 19th century buildings and streetscapes that reflect its status as one of Australia's earliest inland towns.
At the next lights, turn left. At the lights, turn left onto Bridge Street, then turn left onto George Street. At the lights, turn left onto George Street, then arrive at your first stop. Arrive at Windsor. Arrived.